Hey everybody, so my name is Don Ferguson and I am an entrepreneur. So when I became an entrepreneur several months ago, I have had a lot of people keep telling me to share my story, to share my motivations, what really inspired me to leave the corporate world where I was making a really good salary. And so I blog, I do a lot of social media, networking, I tell my story, in little blurbs, but people just keep coming back and saying, you know what, you need to tell your story. So this is my story, and we're going to do it no frills. This is not a high production, anything like that. This is like me talking to a camera, one light, no makeup, nothing. It's just going to be me talking, telling my story, and I'm going to continuously do this. I might have some guests on to talk about their perspective as far as life, their stories in the business world, working for themselves, entrepreneurs, anything that drives them. So moving forward, I'm going to do this more often. I'm still going to blog, but I thought it's really important to get in front of a camera and tell my story. So after about 35 years, whatever it may be, I left corporate America. I was a divisional vice president for a pretty big financial company, and it just got to the point where I couldn't do it anymore. It's not a knock on the company whatsoever. The company's fantastic, but it's just a situation where when you feel something inside of you that's burnt out, it's like a Christmas bulb, on the old sets, that when a light burns out, the whole string burns out. And so when you leave in your mind, when you're just not satisfied anymore, everything else will go with it. And for me, I just wasn't inspired anymore. I know that I could do more. I wanted to do more. I wanted to feel satisfied. I wanted to feel fulfilled. And so, how it kind of became is I didn't really set out to leave a job, leave corporate America to be an entrepreneur, because the shit is pretty stressful. I'm not going to lie. But, it was looking at investments. Like, really, we looked at, my wife and I, we looked at how can we make our money work for us. And, you have 401k, savings plans, CDs, stocks, mutual funds, all that, but that's a job in its own right, and you have to be on top of it. And, with 401k, it's a savings account. That's really all it is. And at some point, it's a pretty shitty one, because, well, we won't get into that, but do your research. It's not the best. So, we wanted something like watching Shark Tank, watching, The Profit, different shows like that, is invest in companies. And if we can invest in companies, we can make a higher rate of return. So, we came up with some ideas and we were kicking it around. And, one day I came home and everything was great. It was on a Friday. I was feeling good. It was time to go out and get some drinks and have something to eat. And I looked at my wife and she lost her job. So just like that, as quickly as that, life changed. Now, it wasn't that I couldn't afford everything. I could absolutely afford everything. But the point of it is, in a heartbeat, shit can change. And if you get too comfortable thinking that it won't change, you're fooling yourself. You're not prepared. You don't have a plan B. So for us, we were kicking around some things. And it really went into the mode of saying, you know what, we need to do something else. Because at my job, things were changing as well. Things were about to drastically change. And so within a short period of time, she was losing her job. They were moving everything back to New Jersey, where the headquarters was. And I was moving to another area. And, there was just all these different changes, and I didn't feel good about it. Maybe it was good for the business, but for me personally, it just wasn't in line where I wanted to be. So, with that being said, while she was off, we came up with some ideas, and she took that time to set up these companies that we were eventually going to build, which that's what we're doing now. So, realistically, what we were trying to do was just create investments down the road. But luckily we did that, having, the forethought of building something, because now it comes in handy. So outside of that, losing a job, losing a good amount of money, like, it's devastating. It impacts your ego. It impacts, your state of mind. There's a lot of things when you lose a job, what it does to you. So there were three things that really, really, truly impacted me and my decision to leave corporate America. And the first one was, it was a Sunday. It was about 6 o'clock, and I told my wife I had to go down into the basement, into my office to work. And I had to figure out kind of a game plan. And I'm not going to elaborate, but it was something that I just wasn't comfortable doing. It compromised, the way that I felt. It compromised my integrity. And it was just something I wasn't really comfortable with doing. And I did it, but ultimately it worked out. That's a story for another time. Maybe I'll share over a drink or something. But I just wasn't comfortable making some of these decisions or taking action that I was kind of told to do. So that was the first thing that started to change my thinking of, I don't know if this is for me anymore. The second thing is I heard an interview on a show called The Breakfast Club. It's a syndicated talk show in the morning on urban stations, and I heard a guy who I really like. And after this interview, I liked him a lot more, and it's Dame Dash. And if you don't know who Dame Dash is, he founded Rockefeller Records with Jay-Z and another gentleman. So he entrepreneur, been, all over. And that interview, it just truly impacted me a lot. What it did was it created a different mindset. I looked at everything from a different perspective. And, I felt the same way. Like, we work a lot, especially if you are in management, leaderships, like whatever it may be. If you're way up at the top, you work more, but you're working for somebody else's dream. So we hustle for the weekend, and we get those 2 days. And sometimes it's not even 2 days, because I have been on emails all day long on a Saturday. So I get 1 day with my family. And, some of you are living paycheck to paycheck, Maybe you don't take pride in what you do. Maybe it's just a lot of different factors, but really it just resonated like I wanted to work on my own dream. And if you're not working towards your dream, you're working for somebody else's dream to come true. So the Dame Dash interview on The Breakfast Club, it really changed my perspective. It opened me up, and it was like, you always want to be the boss. You want to own something. You want to have pride in something that you own. And then the third thing that happened was I heard another interview on The Breakfast Club with Dr. Boyce Watkins. And he's an economist, and I really admire Dr. Boyce. I mean, he definitely checked that out. So with Dr. Boyce, it came down to, do you have that fuck you money? He didn't say that, but I'm saying it. Do you have that fuck you money? So when you're unhappy and it's just shit isn't working the way that you want it, and you're being taken advantage of, or whatever it may be at the job that you're at, you're not being treated fairly, do you have money set aside to go out and do what you want to do? And it really made me think, and I added it up and did all the calculations, and lo and behold, I had that fuck you money. That I could take money, invest into myself, invest into my businesses, leave the corporate world, still be good for a year and a half, and go for my dream. And so Dr. Boyce Watkins and that interview, like with Dame Dash and Dr. Boyce, like in a short period of time, it really just changed everything. And it put me in a position to say, you know what? I need to take a risk at one point in my life, because if I don't now, I probably never will. And my dreams will just go down the toilet. Everything that I've always wanted in life, it's just not going to be there, because I got to a very high plateau at the company that I worked for, and I just realized this is not what I want. I would sit in an office looking out a window, and the clouds would pass me by, and to me it was kind of like, the world was passing me by. I was trapped. I was in a fishbowl. And it truly wasn't for me anymore. So I made a decision. So for me, it was, I had to make a decision. Obviously I talked to my wife about it, and it's a struggle. At first, you have that relief, like, I don't have to answer emails up until midnight anymore, and I don't have that stress of the drive-in, and the daily things that you endure. But then you ultimately feel lost. There's a part, it's like it hits the wall, and what happens is you realize this is real. Shit just got real overnight, and you have to find your way. You have to structure your day for you to set yourself up to make money. And what's been interesting along this journey, and like I said, I'm going to do these more. I'm going to talk a lot about stories. I'm going to talk about corporate America, my experiences, just life, my perspective, happiness. Anything that comes to mind, I'm gonna write it down, and I'm just gonna get in front of a camera and talk about it, But for me, it was, I've met so many great people, and I've met a lot of entrepreneurs, and it's so funny because my story is their story, and so we have that camaraderie. Like, we've come together, and I realized, like, wow, I'm not the only one that's been in this position. I literally, like this, in the last 2 weeks, I've talked to at least 10 different people that own their own companies. And yeah, they're not millionaires, they're not billionaires, they're struggling, they're making ends meet, but they're happy. They enjoy truly, wholeheartedly what they get to do every day. And that was something that I always envied. And I'm not going to say that I hated what I did before. I loved a lot of the people. I miss a lot of the people that I used to work with. And, but I just knew there was something bigger than me that I needed to be a part of. And when I talk to a lot of these, company owners, and I do business and create accounts with them, create partnerships, and, whatever it may be, is we have this bond, and it's just like an exclusive club. It's really, really different. It's really unique. But, anyway, we'll talk about entrepreneurialism, another time. But the thing that I really want, you to get out of this is, if you have a goal, if you have a dream, you don't give up on it. Put everything you have into it. And I'm sitting here, like, we see all these YouTube videos, we see all these Facebook videos to where it's, they were down and out at 5. They had, Alzheimer's at 7. And at 10, they were ran over by a train. And then all of a sudden, they're Eminem. They're the biggest star in the world. But it took a lot. They went through a lot, trust me, to get to that point. And I'm in that point right now. You're always going to get to a point where you could go forward and it's hard as shit, or you can just say, you know what, this is too much, and go back to what you're used to. To me, it's not an option. I don't have an option to go back to what I'm used to because I'm already too far gone. But if you plan and you take action and you execute on your goal and you don't give up, great things happen. Early on, I read a story about this guy, and he quit his job. He just quit. No notice, nothing. Done. And he created a company. And he was in his early 20s. And, he didn't live with his parents, but his parents were, really, really controlling. And every day they would say, how's the business? How's the business? How's this going? It takes time to grow and build. So in roughly 2 years, he grew his business to where when he was writing this this article, this editorial, he was sitting on the beach in Thailand because he can work wherever he wants, but he had to take that risk. And in his story, I mean, he was setting it up. He was planning. So he was eating like 99-cent Michelinas for lunch and dinner. You know, he was putting all his money away. And he scrimped and he saved. But he got to the point where he is doing very well, but he can work anywhere in the world. And the thing about it is, you may lose. I mean, trust me, you're going to take some losses in life. That's just life. But in business, being your own boss and being an entrepreneur, you're definitely going to lose. But what you'll learn is how you can be resilient. And so far, the greatest thing that I've learned is how to be resilient and how to handle stress and how to handle pressure. And it's just one day something comes along and it's a sign that just completely shows you this is the path that you're meant to be on. So hopefully you got something out of it. You know, if you are in the middle of trying to make a decision for yourself, just weigh it out. Really, you know, put a lot of thought into it. Go somewhere, meditate, whatever it may be. But think about what you want to do with your life, because you are in full control of everything around you. Every decision that you make carries a consequence. So if you have something that you're passionate about, go for it. That's all I got for now. Be sure to, you know, I don't know if I'm going to do this on YouTube or what, but, you know, follow along. We are creating this for our Facebook page, Curious Inception, and that's another business that we did. So for now, I'll see you again.